Hello, I'm here with my second video on book review. Yesterday was the first show, the premiere show, and I think many people liked it. And let me continue my book review. This time I have brought you with a beautiful story, short stories, or rather, it's not a short story. It's a writer who does short story writing as well as novel writing, and he won the Padma Shri and Padma Bhushan from the Indian government for his acclaimed works in the field of literature. Uh, his name is Ruskin Bond, who writes about Himalayan stories mostly. He spent his life there in the Himalayas, and so this is the book of Ruskin Bond. I think it's the latest book, Song of the Forest by Ruskin Bond. It's a beautiful book that says about the Himalayan stories, his life in the Himalayas, and some of the supernatural experiences regarding uh, ghosts, and then the beautiful trees and the charisma of the Himalayas, the natural beauty, and the way people live there, the local people, the life of people around there, the valleys, the mountains, all those stories. So, this is a beautiful book which I recently purchased and read. So that's called Song of the Forest, Tales from Here, There, and Everywhere. His interactions with the common man of that place all are included in this. It's a latest book, very latest book, I think. It's a very interesting book, and it has got few chapters, I think 10, 12, 15 chapters. 15 chapters. As from the Song of the Forest, sounds like some bird is singing a tale for you in the forest through the book, maybe. And so it goes on that way from the Song of the Forest to Miracle at Happy Bazaar. It's the name of a place where uh, a correlated incident happened and it became known as Happy Bazaar. Then the rhododendrons, that is a tree that is found in that area, about a person who came there, and then finally he discusses the supernatural experiences about the book and all those things. The book starts with the explanation of the Himalayan regions, his experiences in Dalhousie and Mussoorie and nearby places in Himalayas. He went to Darjeeling as well, I think, through train journey along with his father, as he remembers. So such beautiful explanations he has listed in this uh, collection of essays. It's not essays actually, it's experiences. It's a novel, I think. It's a novel. It has around 15 chapters, and he's a good short story writer as well, and that's a rare combination. You should see one who writes a short story along with a novel. It's a very good combination, and it's a rare ability of a writer, you should say. Either he will be a short story writer or he will be a long story writer, also a novel writer, but this he has both the abilities, and he's an acclaimed writer from the northern part of India, and he won many prizes, and he's quite famous in the field. And his early life started, the story he says, as a young writer. He started writing stories. He stayed nearby Himalayas, in the Himalayan regions, the Uttar Pradesh, that hilly regions, and nearby Nepal, and he started writing there. And I think he had a short visit to United Kingdom as well, where he tried his luck, and he stayed there for a short time, and he had good experiences there with some people, his fellow mates in the room, or some other memorable experiences he had there in the United Kingdom. So, other than that, the book talks about few of his experiences, which he wished that he should have such experiences, maybe of a few ghosts, and then there is a term called doppelganger, which is often discussed in psychology, right? There's a few people who consider it as a dangerous word, and that's a German word, I guess. Doppelganger means someone else that looks like you, or somebody that you know, and a person comes to you, and he looks like that person, but he's not that person. A ghost has taken a human form, maybe, and he has supernatural abilities, and that's quite scary, as per the book, and experiences of the doppelganger. And he had a strange experience also in those days. It starts with Like the story goes on, like in the initial chapters, where he met a person who was a culprit in a crime, and that person escaped from the hands of the police. And this guy knew that he was the culprit. He's a criminal. I think he has a murder attempt on a person, and he stayed nearby and he escaped. And he had a short term with the imprisonment, I think. Then he left, or the jail, or so that person he sees again in a place where he staying newly, and that he tries to inform, and that person mysteriously disappears. And then later on, that is one experience, or maybe there is another experience, or who knows, both are related, don't know. But that is a criminal who has been looking, who knew that this guy knows about me, who is an enemy, you can say. But then there are other strange experiences, like the shadow on the wall, where he sleeps in a home in the Himalayan region, where he is took for rent for 2 3 months and stayed there for writing a short story. And nighttime he sees a shadow on the wall, the shadow of a person, and that constantly it is present there, the shadow. And shadow of a woman, I guess, shadow, that's a ghost there. And he was scared, and he noticed it. And he spent the night very difficult way. And somehow it became morning, and he has noted down in his book about that experience. And another is where uh, the experience where he went to a hotel, a big hotel, and there he meets many famous personalities like Satyajit Ray and few of the film actors in Bollywood, and that another person, a foreigner. And then he leaves that place, and that's a haunted place. And these are all the things that comes into his mind. Or maybe this is a doppelganger experience, or this is some experience that he gets in the Himalayan region. Later he comes out to that place, and comes to Delhi, where he quite often stay. And initially, and then that person, that then they talk about it. And the person whom he considered that he met there, they says that no, I have never been there. I have never been there. I was not in that Himalayan region. I never went there in my lifetime. So he's shocked. So he understands that there is someone who took the form of this person, and that is a supernatural experience, that ghost experiences. That was a haunted hotel where he went. That was in the Himalayan region. This story happened in the early 1960s or 50s, very long back. And this person had such experiences. And another is like that of the doppelganger, and haunted places, where he was sleeping in a room, and a woman came, and at night time, that is like an apparition or a ghost, and there is a sudden knock on the door. He opened the door, and he finds that a big tall woman, 8 feet high, with long body, standing there. And he was scared, and suddenly she turned and tried to push the door, that it should not close it. And he somehow caught hold of her finger and tried to twist it, and pulled her out and closed the door. And he was scared. And such an experience, he talks in such Himalayan supernatural experiences. And so Song of the Forest is a beautiful name for the book. Song of the Forest is where there is a quiet beautiful forest, and maybe a bird sings, the twitter and the chirping of the birds, isn't it? That's a beautiful name of the book, The Song of the Forest. And it is not a supernatural storytelling book, no. It's a beautifully written book from the point of his own life experiences, the way he beautifully spent his life in the Himalayas as a writer, his personal experiences. Along with that, he has included these experiences which he had in the Himalayas. And it finally ends with the tales of Fosterganj. Fosterganj is a place in Himalayas, that the name of an old Englishman, or rather a descendant of the royal, I think, the Foster name, and the tales associated with it. And so stories about a person who comes to sell some sort of medicine from nature, which is supposed to increase the sexual ability of a person. These are all mountain stories he's sharing with you. Mountain people, they are, and the chai wala, and he sells samosa, and hot samosa in cold climate, hot tea, and in the roadside, the people come and takes it. All these are told in this book. And it has 15 chapters. Yeah, that's a beautiful book. So these are experience. These are the lives in the Himalayas, and then for a short term, as I told you earlier, he went to London in the early days of his life. He tried his luck there, and that was memorable in his life. He says he bought a suitcase with him even after 30, 40 years, and that he considered almost like a companion, and he keeps there, and he keeps something inside, and some rats or mice come and eat that food, and there's such a sound, quack sound in the night, and he gets up and sees that there are rats inside, and finally he arranges a mouse trap and catches them and puts them out, throws them out, and one, two times, three times. Then again the rats comes and tries to look for food there, and those experiences as a person who stayed in a room in the Himalayas. And about the buses that travel there, they build roads everywhere those days, and that was initially when they started building roads in the mountains. So they purposefully they cut many trees, and they build roads for no reason. Why they should have a road there? That's what he was thinking. Why there should be a road to that mountain top at this cost, cutting all the trees down. And so he left that place. He wanted a place where it's quiet, and looked for another place. And he remembered the place where he stayed. A leopard used to come and at night for catching an animal, and the pet animal in the house, that's like a goat, or then later somebody arranged a goat there, and the leopard will come, and these people will try to scare it out and catch it, or there's some stories were there, and there was another story where a leopard came and ate a person, a man-eating animal, man-eating leopard, and some Nepali people came and tried to beat the drums and make loud sounds and fire and try to scare it away. And such stories about the mountains is unlike, different from the normal stories of a city or a village. These are the plains and the mountains, the mountain tops, and in the plains there are villages, right? Then in the mountain top there are houses, and that's the life. And normally it is said about they are good people who live in the mountains. They talk their heart out, and they are decent people considered by many in the big cities, and they are not having a complicated mindset. They are pretty straightforward people, and they are with such experiences in the mountains, mixing well with nature, and both the charismatic love of nature and the scary elements present in nature. They have seen the both aspects, and that's a treasure in their life. And they have the guts to overcome those experiences, as they tell in this book. So such people share these experiences from some mountains, and when they come to your city or places where people doesn't have heard about such things, they feel pretty high in spirit, that okay, I have something that this guy doesn't even know about, and I have the strength to bear it and go ahead in my life. So such experiences he has, it makes you feel a kind of confident, like it is not a scary story. It makes you feel good that there are people who have such experiences, and you get immersed in the Himalayan life, and you get a nice feeling. And that sort of book, it is a feel good book. It is not a scary book. It's a very good book. So that is his latest book. uh, so when the night time comes, the automobile or the rest of the vehicle stop, and then there is only a cricket or a scary sound, or and this type of sound he hears at night. Everything is calm, no vehicle passes through. And those days in the 60s and when 70s, he's talking about many years ago. Then his father was an army man, he says, and his mother wanted to stay in the village itself, or along with the boy, and he when he worked in the army, and he was later transferred to Ceylon and Calcutta, and later, so this guy, our Ruskin Bond, as a boy, he was put in a hostel and he studied there, and all those stories. And he lived in the mountains quite long, and he had such experiences. So many of his books, I think, had these stories about the mountains, as is written here. Like there are many other books he wrote, like Room on the Roof, A Flight of Pigeons, Night Train at Deoli, Time Stops at Shamli. These are short stories, essays, and poems he wrote. Angry River, Delhi is not far, Rain in the Mountains, Tiger for Tigers for Dinner, Tales of Foster Guns. These are all connected with the rhododendrons. These are the tall trees in the mountains, rhododendrons, and many such stories. And about the mountains, and that's quite people want to know in that we don't know about such a life in the cities and villages probably. uh, these are the mountain people who lived a life, quiet life in the mountains. It's not quite, in fact they have cut roads everywhere and vehicles flow through that places as well. So that's the story of the Song of the Forest. So in this story, this doppelganger has been described, and his experiences, as I told you, in the hotel, the haunted hotel, where he sees some apparitions and some people, some famous people like the film stars, and so he talks about he saw Satyajit Ray, the filmmaker, and those were all sort of make believe, and those were some supernatural experiences, and some black magic kind of people does that, and that those such experiences he has in the mountain life of the Himalayas. And the doppelganger is a special word which is often confusing in the field of psychology itself, I believe, and many people tries to understand what is it about. So you meet a person, somebody whom you knows, but that is not the person, that is some ghost. It is not even a ghost, it's a human body in front of you who has got supernatural abilities. That's a doppelganger. That's an exact pair or the exact replica of a person whom you know very well, and if you mingle with him, that's danger, that's kind of ghost, and something dangerous may happen. That's called a doppelganger. Yeah, that's some movies were made about it and recently. So that's a good explanation of doppelganger in that book, his own experiences. There's a special chapter on the doppelganger story. That's before the Tales of Fosterganj. That's the last part of the book, Tales of Fosterganj, and that's a big chapter. Other chapters are comparatively small, like short stories, but the Tales of Fosterganj is big. Then he has a story called the Garden of Dreams, where he goes to Nepal, and he enters a beautiful garden where there is a woman who is taking care of cleaning that place, and he almost attracted towards that woman and talks to her many beautiful things, and that garden is mesmerizing, he says, and many good feeling and beautiful scenes, and he wanted to go there again. Meanwhile he went there for a job, some job of his, and he returns by the flight, and he is almost in love with that woman, and they share experiences together, and that's one story, Garden of Dreams in Nepal. And then crossing the road, that then he talks about this doppelganger, and that happened in Darjeeling, his experience in Darjeeling in the 60s, 1960s, that he went to a hotel and he had these experiences. So that it occurred to him that everyone mentioned it, the writers, actors, directors, singers, academics, so all of them were present there in front of him, and these are all things that he feels in his life, that was confirmed by a woman later, that I was not there, that maybe you felt that way. Then he understand that this is something about the supernatural ghost experiences. That's a good book to read, and that's quite the mystery element, the supernatural element is there. The curiosity will rise in you, isn't it? First of all, you don't know about the mountain life, and next you don't know a person who has met a ghost in the mountain, and there will be curiosity in you to understand and read the book. And it's a beautiful book, and it's named in the beautiful way, Song of the Forest. That is about the bird who sings beautiful songs, and it hides there. It mates with his mate, and they plays with each other. That sort of book, and a beautiful cover, a green cover, and it's a nice book. It's the latest book. It costs around 500 rupees. So that is the review of this book, and it's a very good book. And the people who want to know about ghostly experiences, especially those illusion and doppelganger, should read this book. It's very nicely written. His experience is listed in this book as a young person in the Himalayas, and that's a good writer. And Ruskin Bond was awarded Padma Shri by the government of India in 1999, a lifetime achievement award by the Delhi government, and Padma Bhushan in 2014. He was selected for the prestigious Sahitya Academy Fellowship in 2021. That is an accomplished writer, as he said, leading writer on the stories and novels, both in the Himalayan region and the forest life, and which about other people normally had no idea, because he lived there. One who lived there can only write about it, his experiences in life, and that's a beautiful book you should read and make part of your collection probably. And you read again and again as it shows. There is a poetical element, as the name of the book suggests, a song of the forest, the birds singing. There's a poetical element in the book of which flares your imagination and makes you think beautiful like a forest person. And the what you wish to know about the forest life and the mysterious element, both its charm, its love, as well as its fear aspect are covered in the book, and that is a book that should be part of a good book enthusiast collection, I believe. So, thanks for listening. Thank you. Have a good day.